Back from our closed sessions, and we'll call to order. And we're going to start with the study session presented. Let me see. First of all, Mr. City Clerk, do we have any speaker wishing to speak?
There's 4 requests to speak on item number 1 in study session.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the study session presented by Public Work Director, Mr. Scott Smith.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Honorable Mayor, council members, the study session item before you is an update on the Orange County Power Authority. Orange County Power Authority staff is with me tonight and will provide the majority of the update, but before they start their presentation, I'd like to point out some key happenings since the November 5th City Council meeting, which is when we had the second reading. On November 25th, OCPA Board approved an amended implementation plan to include the City of Fountain Valley. On December 3rd, OCPA submitted that amended implementation plan to the California Public Utilities Commission for certification. On January 22nd, Councilmember Grandis took the oath of office as Fountain Valley's newly appointed OCPA board member. Mayor, you were there, and so was the city manager at that meeting. January 30th, the OCPA board was notified that the amended implementation plan had been certified by the CPUC, or the California Public Utilities Commission. So those are the key items, or key dates that have happened since November 5th I wanted to point out to you. And at the end of this presentation, both city staff and OCPA staff will be available to answer questions. And at this point in time, I'd like to transfer over to OCPA staff, Mr. Joe Mosca.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council, and good evening, city staff as well. My name is Joe Mosca. I'm CEO of Orange County Power Authority, and glad to be here with you again and available for your study session here to answer any questions that you have. With me is the Director of Communications and External Affairs, Jackie Henderson, and also our External Affairs team, Gabe Demon-Smith and Andrew D. Giovanna, who has been covering this Fountain Valley for us. Also, Community Engagement Manager Linda Kramer's here as well. So I have a short presentation. It's really about kind of an engagement with you to answer any questions that you have. So stop me at any time, or if you want to just, we go through the presentation and we can answer questions at the end. I'm happy to do it any way that's good for you. Here's the agenda that we have, short agenda. And as Scott just mentioned, we did get certification of our amended implementation plan. You should see that as just one of the steps in the process, the regulatory process with the state of California. We have to amend our implementation plan to show that we did all of our due diligence to ensure that this relationship, launching Fountain Valley into OCPA, is in fact feasible. And so we've gone through that process. The California Public Utilities Commission actually responded a couple of months in advance of saying that, okay, you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and we certify this amended implementation plan that shows all the new members of OCPA, and Fountain Valley being one of those. The next area there that I have is about withdrawal. Just wanted to answer some questions. We are fully engaged and hoping to meet all the expectations of the city now and in the future, but wanted to make sure that it's clear that if at any point in time that there's a policy change on your part, and how do you withdraw? The Joint Powers Authority Agreement is the document that is the controlling document. It has a pathway to withdraw. You essentially send a letter of intent to withdraw from OCPA. We go through that process. And at the end of the day, if there are any cost of that withdrawal, then it's not the members that are in the agency that are staying that shoulder that cost, but it's the withdrawing party. So right now, Fountain Valley and any of our members have no liability, and there's no cost of being a part of OCPA. But if a city decides to leave, they shoulder all costs of withdrawal. And I put down there the example of Huntington Beach. Huntington Beach decided that they wanted to leave, and we worked with Huntington Beach. It was a nice transition back to SC, and there was no cost at the end of that transition for Huntington Beach. And so we would strive for any city that decided that they they felt their expectations weren't being met and they wanted to go back to SE. We would strive to ensure that there were no cost. So exciting stuff. Coming to Fountain Valley in October of 2026 is choice. So in 2026, October 2026, the state said we can launch the program, and at that time, the businesses and residents of Fountain Valley will have a choice. They can basically be in any one of our energy plans. The default plan for Fountain Valley is basic choice. That means it is a little bit more renewable energy, more carbon-free attributes than SCE at less of a cost. And so that's going to be their starting point. They'll be able to start off at that point. We'll let them know through a lot of communications with the customers, but also 4 direct mail pieces right before that launch is happening. So 2 direct mail pieces starting 2 months in advance of that launch, and then 2 mail pieces after. And we've really enhanced our mail pieces to ensure that people know their options and how to activate those options as quickly as possible. So they can go up to Smart Choice, they can go up to 100% for a premium choice, or they can go back to SCE. Some key dates. Staff is collaborating. Once a year, we collaborate with our board of directors with a strategic planning workshop. This is really to set the vision, the goals, and the objectives for the upcoming fiscal year, and that's going to be happening on March 2025 this year. And that's your board member, Councilmember Grandis, Director Grandis will be a part of that. In 25, this year and next year, we'll be communicating with your community, with all the customers about OCPA, raising awareness of OCPA and letting them know the benefits of OCPA. And then again, in August of 2026, direct mail to our customers, letting them know there's a window of time that you can opt up, you can opt down, whatever your choice is. But we're going to be very clear and make it as easy as possible for them to decide what they want to do. In October 2026, we will launch the program. Here's various ways that we will be engaging in Fountain Valley: town hall, workshops, community presentations, community organization partnerships, coffee conversations, community event engagements, in any way that you think would be helpful to reach out to the businesses and the residents of your community. We are already working with a number of the businesses in Fountain Valley to ensure that they have information and they understand ahead of time what their options are. There were some questions on our budget, so I wanted to have a slide that just really breaks it down and makes it as clear as possible. So on the right side of this slide, you have essentially a pie chart that shows the percentage of our revenue and where it's going. So the biggest piece of that pie, 88%, nearly 90% of our revenue goes to the cost of energy. Less than 5% is for the operating and non-operating expenses of OCPA. The rest are for some reserves. On the left side, you have, just drilling down, it's a little bit different than what you probably are used to with the city budget. In the city budget, you have lots of layers of different departments. Here, it's very streamlined because nearly 90% is cost of energy, and then you have staffing, data management, and other line items right there, and then you have the grand total of our revenue for 24-25. There were some questions about reserve. So we aim to have about 30 to 50% of our 30 to 50% in reserves. That's important. It's important because of market fluctuations, important because of changes in regulatory framework, and so it's always important to have 30 to 50%. It's also important because in this early stages of OCPA, when we don't have an S&P credit rating, energy suppliers and developers rely upon the fact that we have a lot of reserves to get through some of the rainy days. So in just 2 years, we've built a very solid financial foundation, and we had about $90 million in over $90 million, about $110 million in reserves as of the last fiscal year. Because of some of the headwinds we were facing with renewable energy costs, we decided to use some of those reserves to ensure that there weren't any rate shocks and to make sure that rates were as affordable as possible. And that's what the reserves are for. This slide just shows you a little bit more about the trend line in terms of some of the reserves. We're still very new, but you can see how those reserves have been picking up over the time, and we'll end this fiscal year with about $65 million in reserves. So that's about 22%, a little bit less than what we aim for, but we are very much planning on getting back up to that 30 to 50%. Some of the questions that were asked of us in terms of the city of Irvine, last year we were before the prior city council of Irvine talking to them about one other way to mitigate the high cost of renewable energy, which is to change their default plan. You're set at basic choice. The city of Fullerton is set at smart choice, and we were asking our two member agencies, Irvine and Buena Park, to shift from the 100% default plan that they had to temporarily shift to the smart choice. And that conversation carried over to the new city council, where there are 3 brand new city council members and a brand new mayor, and there was some confusion. So, we've been working with the city of Irvine to make sure that we're meeting their expectations, and the relationship stays as strong as it has always been. We have 2 new board members from the city of Irvine. We've gone through all kinds of orientations with our new board members, and the relationship is very strong, and educating them about everything about OCPA, and it's been going very well. We've also worked with the city of Buena Park to change their default plan for temporarily for 25 and 26. This is part of our mitigation plan so that we could have the rate design that we have in place right now. They did by a 5-0 vote to change that default plan temporarily for 25, 26. So they'll be at smart choice for 25, smart choice for 26, and then revert back to 100% in 2027. By the way, Irvine opted down to basic choice for 25. So there are some questions about income graduated fixed charge, big name, and essentially this charge is something that the state has come up with together with the investor-owned utilities. This is introducing a fixed charge on the delivery side of your bill. So there's, if you think about your electric bill, there's 2 major sides of that electric bill. There's the generation side, so the cost of your energy, and there's the delivery side, the cost of delivering that electricity to the businesses and homes. OCPA is only on the generation side. We don't have anything to do with the delivery side. The delivery side is within the wheelhouse of the utility. They own and control and maintain the poles and wires. So the income graduated fixed charge is solely on the transportation side of the house. It is an effort by the state and by the investor-owned utilities to move from a volumetrics charge for some of their fixed charges to a fixed charge for some of their fixed charges. So just wanted to present that again, that this is nothing to do with OCPA or any other CCA, whether you're a customer of OCPA or a customer of SCE for generation, the income graduated fixed charge is still there on the transportation side of the bill.
If I'm an SCE customer, does me paying this delivery charge, does it decrease my rate for generation, or does my rate stay the same?
It stays the same. There is no connection or interrelationship. Yeah, it's just it's the same thing that we're dealing with in the water world. That as we
what it says on your slide, though, time of use and tiered delivery rates will decrease by 5 to 7 cents per kilowatt hour. So it looks like they're lowering the generation rate and moving a fixed charge, moving it over to the delivery side of the
that
equation.
is not what that no.
So what does that mean then?
So there's a volumetric charge on the transportation side, on the transmission and distribution system. There's a volumetric charge based on how much you're using, and so they're saying that as we have conserved, as we have become more efficient as a society, the fixed charges are still what they are, but the volumetric charge is going down, and so this is a way for them to basically, everybody has to pay for the system, and so they're getting back to that. I'm not saying I agree with it or not. It's on the transportation side, and it has to do with moving some of that volumetric charge to a fixed charge. And it's the same thing you see in the water world, where you basically have so much money, fixed charge on the water system to maintain that system, but people are using less and less, but they're like, my bill is going higher and higher. And so it's the same kind of concept. Clean energy alternatives, people were asking about the question about the green rate program. So The investor-owned utilities have a green rate program. This was set up by the California Public Utilities Commission some time ago. They allowed, because they saw that there was a desire for more renewable energy, they allowed the investor-owned utilities to have a program, but they capped that program. And the program is capped for SCE. They have 3,000 customers. Out of the 5 million customer accounts, they have 3,000 customers on that program, and there's a demand to get in that program, but the program is shut down. It's not open. Unless somebody comes off of it, nobody can go on to it. And the California Public Utilities Commission is not expanding that program. So that is an alternative with SE, but it's not really an alternative because it's closed. We have about 178,000 customer accounts. So there's obviously, and that's excluding the Fountain Valley. If we put in Fountain Valley, that would be just under 190,000 customer accounts. So there's clearly much more demand than 3,000. So at any time, we're here for questions. Any questions that you have?
I had a question. So, yeah, the reason that I wanted to have this study session to begin with is because right after we sort of agreed to sign up, Irvine Council, City Council had a meeting and ostensibly expressed their desire to withdraw from OCPA. So can you, I guess, first kind of clarify what actually happened at the Irvine City Council meeting and where they are in the process, and I guess also how that impacts Fountain Valley's participation in the OCPA.
So let me start with the last point first. It doesn't impact you at all. There is no impact on Fountain Valley. There is no impact on Buena Park. There's no impact on Fullerton. Where are they at right now? So the direction was that to work with OCPA, and that if they didn't see improvement, then they would basically send a letter of intent to withdraw. They have not sent that letter. They sent 2 new board members, Vice Mayor James Mai, who's now our vice chair of the board of directors, and Councilmember William Go, who's a new member, is now a director on our board. We have oriented them, we're working with them, and every feedback that we get is that the relationship is improving, and they're getting the information that they want. I believe that some of the confusion was about the fact that we were before their city council, their prior city council, at the very end of the year about changing the default plan. And they were confused by that. And as we basically have gone back in to talk about this and talk about this as part of a larger mitigation plan, there's more understanding of what we were trying to do. They did then basically change their default plan for 2025 to basic choice from the 100% choice that they were at.
Now, is that just for the city consumption, or is that for any new customer that signs up with the city, or how?
So the default plan is for anybody who signs up for electric service in the city of Irvine is initially on that default plan. That default plan was, as you said it at basic choice. They initially set it at 100%. And so part of our mitigation plan was to temporarily change the default plan for those cities that were defaulted at 100%, because that meant that we had a whole lot of renewable energy to purchase in a year that renewable energy was going very high. And so temporarily shifted it down. Let me also say that under the Joint Powers Authority Agreement, if they were to basically give me a letter tomorrow, which we are working very hard to ensure that they stay in, and it is to their benefit to stay in as well, and we want to make sure that it's a very good relationship, that if they were to send a letter tomorrow or the next day, that their last day wouldn't be until July of 2026. So that gives us ample time to work with them to ensure that the transition back to SE is as smooth as possible for them, for our customers, and for us as well, ensuring that there's no cost on our members and no cost on them as well.
Mr. Mayor, I have questions.
Actually, one quick thing, I want to make a quick comment on that too, because I have had conversations with the 2 council members from Irvine, and I agree. I think that they're going to do everything they can to make sure that this goes smoothly, and that they're doing everything they can to, can you guys hear me? Yeah. Now you can hear me. There we go. Talking to the 2 council members, I'm very confident that they're going to do everything they can to make sure OCPA stays as strong as they can, so they can continue to give choice to their residents. and the vice chairmanship going to Vice Chair James Mai, I think is a strong way of showing the commitment Irvine will continue to make to OCPA.
All right, Councilmember Constantine.
Sure, I have a few. So if you could please go back to the first slide, maybe the second one. Oops. Not that one, the next one. Okay, here we go. So where the opting out is, it says if a customer prefers to stay with Southern California Edison SCE, they can opt out at any time and return to SCE service. Now, I think if we go to the next one, yeah. So you have August 2026. The bottom line is now it says or opt out of OCPA and stay with. So there's different words there in the switch over. My question is, Southern California Edison offers various programs such as time of use and other things like you guys do from what I'm hearing. Somebody who doesn't want to get switched to your company, I certainly wouldn't want them to lose whatever plans and programs that they're on. That is going to be a situation. I see so many holes in this. I can't even tell you. Who are your current OC City customers? We know Buena Park and Irvine. Do you have any others?
So yes, Fullerton, Fountain Valley, Buena Park, and Irvine.
Okay, well, it's still minimal in the county. And you said, quote, Irvine opted down to basic choice for 2025. I watched the meeting. I don't know Mayor Larry Agron of Irvine, but I did hear him refer to it as an ultimatum. Your company was the one that came up with dropping down the tiers, and you admit that. So, I don't know. There's also the reason why they sent the letter to you guys and put it in the hands of the city manager and going forward is that they'd been having a great deal of problems in receiving information from OCPA and how that information would be taken. Your thoughts as how the information would be reacted to. I don't know. I'm not real thrilled about this. I hope it goes well, gotta say. And as far as city staff or whoever put this two-pager together, just for housekeeping purposes, on October 1st, 2024, and then on November 5th, here in City Council, it wasn't City Council approved, it was City Council majority. I was the no, and I'm a firm no, but I do respect that we did join. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Sure.
I think it's important to note, and because the point that you make about the opting out, and so we will direct mail all of the customers, all the businesses and residents in Fountain Valley in August, 2 months ahead of time, direct mail them to let them know that they have an option to opt out. And so if they opt out, if they take advantage of that opting out, they will never have been launched into the OCPA program. And then also when they are, and we'll also send it to 2 months after, continually sending 2 letters after. And they can opt down to SE, opt back to SE at any time. The beauty also of what you all did in terms of your default plan is that you set it at basic choice so that it basically has a little bit more renewable energy, a little bit more carbon-free at a 3% discount to SE. So they're essentially having a little bit better of a product at a cost reduction. And most programs that a customer would be on through SE, they would also carry over those programs to OCPA. And whatever rate they're on, we've adopted as a load serving entity, we adopted the rate book of Southern California Edison. So that's when I say it's 3% less as the equivalent generation rate. So it is whatever rate you're on. If you're on time of use, if you're on an EV charging rate, whatever you're on, you're still on when you transition to OCPA. And we also have a lot of customer service staff. In addition to the external affairs, we also have a call center and folks that can help resolve any issue that if there is an issue.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. We have to pretty much move forward because we got 6 o'clock meeting and we got another presentation. So we're trying to do it, but go ahead and get your questions.
Yeah, so I see Tracy Cameron in the audience, and she asked me about solar panels and those that have solar. How will their rates be affected?
So they're going to benefit under OCPA because even though the state has moved to NEM 3, so the third iteration of the net energy metering program, we still honor NEM 2 benefits. That means that if that dial on her meter is turning the opposite way and she's producing more electricity than she's using, we give 10% more for that energy than she would get through SE. So she's also, and gets a quicker payback as well. And so there's an absolute benefit for net energy metering customers to belong to OCPA.
All right, I see you're smiling, so I guess that's a good answer. Thank you.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead. I'm going to give an input on that one. It's actually, I asked that question last time on references because I do own solar too. They did answer that question before.
So Joe, we are, we actually are waiting here on this question too. If Fountain Valley decides to pull out of OCPA next month, hypothetically, what would that cost look to us to be?
So under the JPA, the cost would be set based on multiple factors of whatever the costs are at the time that you withdraw. And so we would basically work together, ensure, I would imagine that your desire is no cost, and so we would work together to ensure that there is no cost. And I would give the example of Huntington Beach, which we actually launched and was serving, and that had purchased a whole lot of energy. So we were able to work with Huntington Beach to sell off that energy and to reduce any liability to no cost at all. And so with the city of Fountain Valley having not even been served and no energy procured for Fountain Valley, it would probably be very easy to ensure that there was to come close to no cost.
And if you could please just see where I'm coming from with my continued skepticism, to not have a question like this that was posed a ways ago not answered until today, it's concerning. Again, fingers crossed, I'm praying that everything will go well. Thank you.
I'd also just repeat that there is no liability for member agencies. There is no cost to your general fund. There's no cost at all to Fountain Valley.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any more questions? Nope, and hearing none? All right, thank you so much for the
Thank you.
presentation. Okay, because it's almost 6 o'clock, I want to go ahead and move the presentation item number 2 at the end of the meeting, if that's okay with all.
Mr. Mayor, we have 4 requests to speak
Yeah,
on.
okay, go ahead.
study
That's
session
right,
item
that's right.
number
You did
1.
say that. Go ahead and have those comment, please.
Michael Hutton.
Good evening. My name is Michael Hutton, and I'm a 23-year resident of Fountain Valley and 50-plus year resident of the Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley area. In late 2022, I learned of the automatic enrollment, and I say that because you had to physically opt out, into the Orange County Power Authority. I'm calling it OCPA. After looking into it further, I realized that it appeared to me to be an attempt to force existing Southern California Edison SCE customers to supporting and paying for renewable energy, wind and solar, thereby creating, in my opinion, another layer, and I would say an unneeded layer of energy regulation, essentially a new middleman. Fortunately, I had the opportunity to opt out. Just recently, I heard or read somewhere, and I heard about it tonight a little bit more, that the city of Huntington Beach had opted out of OCPA, thereby defaulting to the existing program of allowing its citizens to opt in or opt out, free choice. Even more recently, imagine my surprise when I happened upon a tiny little article in the January 2025 edition of Fountain Valley Living. The article announced that the city had adopted a resolution, November 5th, to implement the OCPA Community Choice Aggregation Program. The article goes on in extolling the virtues of renewable energy, that support a healthier, more sustainable future, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to ask, what does aggregation in this context mean? Does it mean that every Fountain Valley citizen will be automatically enrolled in OCPA, whether or not they support renewable energy or want to be in the program? So much for free choice. I wrote this before I came to the meeting tonight, so I didn't know about what was going to go on, but I was going to respectfully request that the city consider providing to its citizens more information on this important matter. Thank you very much.
Katie Wright.
Greetings, City Council and public. I retired after 21 years with AT&T. Before it became AT&T again, it was SBC, and before that it was Pacific Bell, a public utility commission company, and had to abide by PUC regulations, and had to provide co-location for competition. But we didn't have to provide them their equipment, if I remember correctly. Either way, this is a middleman that you've engaged all of us to have to deal with. I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. I don't trust that. That's my opinion. Okay, fine. So I've been paying attention to Irvine City Council meetings, paying attention to our City Council meetings, our study sessions, and I have not followed. This has been going on for at least 8 meetings at a previous time that was pointed out to me. I smell a rat. It smells fishy to me. I don't trust these people. I've watched a lot of people who have dealt with OCPA, a lot of agencies that have dealt with OCPA. They do not trust OCPA for good reason that they've described. I can't quote it all. I'm not a journalist. I don't have it at hand. Watching the big Irvine City Council special meeting, they were talking about, Councilmember Treseder was talking about the fact that she was in an OCPA board meeting and could not get a direct answer from the people on the board to her questions. She found that very concerning, as did the rest of the new city council in Irvine. There's a reason they were voted in. There's a reason the people who weren't there anymore. The people of Irvine didn't like them anymore, didn't trust them. And I will tell you, sponsoring a mayor's ball, fine, it's just one table, okay. And you comment on that on social media and people jump on you and attack you like you're a June bug. Well, that didn't put money in somebody's pocket. Well, I'm not saying it ever did, but it's a matter of influence. It's a matter of influence peddling. A lot of people did not like to see that. And we have 2 people here now that are now members of the board of OCPA. And these are the 2 people. I'm not going to talk about the people involved, but I will say there's a lot of distrust. I worked for the utility company. If you went away from them for any reason, you tried to come back and get your previous, whatever your plan was, forget about it. There were extra charges. I just don't trust the whole thing. Thank you.
Julie Eller.
I'm Julie Eller, and it's good to be this evening with you guys. It's my first time speaking, so bear with me. There are some problems with if you just opt us into something that we had no choice over. Feels a little like blackmail to me. And that's number 1. Number 2, you've got seniors, you've got disabled, you've got low income. You have all different programs with Southern California Edison. Once you get in those programs, if you just take us out and you throw us away to someplace we don't even want to go to, it's not that easy to get back in those programs. Who's going to help it? Who's going to help everybody? Forgive me for this, the way I'm going to put this. I do not mean it disrespectfully, but what gives you guys the right to make that decision for everybody in the city? I choose my phone carrier. I don't just get flipped over from where I'm at to some other phone carrier. No, I make that choice if I want to move carriers or not. And I'd like to know why. It feels like blackmail. Thank you.
Kathleen Bauman?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I've been a resident of Fountain Valley for about 27 years. I just have a couple questions regarding this. My voice is going to be shaky because I failed public speaking in high school. So everybody is automatically opted in. Well, why can't it be that you make that choice? So I'm an SC member. If I want to opt in, I'll sign the card and opt in. But I can guarantee you all of the residents don't even know about this. And half the people throw mailers away. They're not going to know until they get their bill and it's higher. The research I've looked at, it's going to cost us more money. We don't have that kind of money to do this. You have 3 choices now. The basic, smart, and 100% renewable. The City of Irvine's switching that. So you only are on the 100% renewable, which is the highest rate. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Kind of everybody is speaking here saying the same thing. So I don't know if you guys answer the questions afterwards or how it works. But that's it. We should have a choice and not be automatically opted into it. So.
I have no further requests to speak on this
Okay,
item.
thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
I'd
give
like
me-
to.
Give me a second, please. So I think there's a lot of great questions from the public. I think I'm going to leave to my colleague, Councilmember Grandis here, because he's on the board. I think it'd be more appropriate for him to respond to some of the concerned residents.
Sure, thank you, Mayor, appreciate that. So first off, Mr. Hutton, you mentioned that HV went back to SCE and therefore they have choice. Actually, they don't have choice. Their only choice now is SCE. They don't have choice. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to speak back, but I apologize. But yeah, OCPA is, with the city of Huntington Beach, our only choice now is SCE. They cannot stay with OCPA, that's gone. And then, Ms. Eller, you mentioned that, the reason that everybody is opting in is it's actually a CPUC, it's a state California Public Utility Commission requirement that the entire city must be opted in. It's not like something that we have a choice of or not. And you mentioned that, you didn't have a choice on that and what gives us the right, but you also didn't have a choice on Southern California gas, the water, trash, or even your current Southern California Edison. So the good news with OCPA is, and Ms. Bauman, you mentioned that you had 3 choices, the basic, the mid-tier, or the high, but you forgot a 4th choice. You can stay on SCE, and nothing changes. And if somebody does make a mistake and stay completely, and go over to OCPA when they didn't intend to, their bill will still come from SCE. Their bill will be a little bit less expensive, not hugely, we're not going to say that. But you also, I forget which one, I think it was Ms. Eller, brought up a really good point. If there are special programs for the elderly, for the disabled, you are right, they need to stay on SCE. And I will make sure I work with staff and we figure out and we put out information as best we can to make sure that we assist those that are on the special programs, that they stay and they don't go over to OCPA. So I appreciate that feedback. That was good feedback. I think I don't know, Mr. CEO, did I forget anything?
No, that's a great job. I would just say that in terms of the programs, many of those programs are state-funded programs. So if a customer's on CARE or FARA or any other baseline kind of medical program, they still will be on that program with OCPA. It's a state program that's funded and facilitated through SC, but it's a state program funded by the state government. And so those programs are also our customers, if they're OCPA customers, are also entitled to those programs if they qualify for CARE or FARA. We're not a middleman. We're a load-serving entity purchasing energy on the market, just like Southern California Edison would be. The two differences is we're a not-for-profit, started by cities for the benefit of the customers of those cities. We're also looking to buy more renewable energy and make sure that we're buying more clean energy and starting more local generation here in Orange County and Southern California.
And one thing I will say, you mentioned nonprofit, is I think it's a positive that you guys are reinvesting into the cities. I know this weekend we had the Miss Fountain Valley contest, and OCPA was a sponsor for them. It helps the community, and I like that, profits that are made off of our residents on power will go back into the community.
And that's the essence of a not-for-profit. We make a profit, but that profit is revenue that's put back, it stays locally. So we're investing it back in our communities to raise awareness of OCPA, to raise awareness of the benefits of OCPA, clean energy, and to help you with your sustainability goals, and to augment your capacity for grants that you can get more money for sustainability goals. So it's money that's staying locally as opposed to the utilities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the only thing I want to also add to the point to my colleague here is, if I remember on the last presentation you did at the mayor's message, is for those who are, for example, have a special discount because they're a former employee of SCE, they needs to remain with them because they don't get that extra 3%. That's what I remember.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. I did want to jump up here and mention that. That was mentioned at the mayor's breakfast, that if there is an SCE employee that gets an employee discount with SCE, that is not honored through OCPA, obviously. It's not the same company, so we definitely encourage that they remain with SCE. And our goal is to put out as much information as possible. This is over a year away when this would happen, so we're really trying to sow the seeds in the community right now. So we definitely look to the City Council for your recommendations of how we can get out there and talk to these communities that may have challenges accessing the internet, or if there are special ways that we can communicate with them. We definitely want to lean on you to make sure that there is awareness, so that if you don't want to come with us, that's okay. We would like you to stay with SCE.
And then I want to make one last point also. Not only are we trying to save, the 3% to a resident, but also we are saving the 3% to our business owners.
Correct.
Which is, according to the last data, the business owner draw a lot of electricity, almost close to, if not a little bit more than our resident. In addition, we're saving 3% to our municipality of a building as well.
Correct.
So
And
that's
those are
that's a
big-
benefit as well.
Yes, and
Not
those
just
are
us.
large energy users, so that 3% does make a difference for those businesses, those
Right.
small businesses and municipalities. Thank you for pointing.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank you. I mixed up the two programs. It was the Edison employee program that I heard, and I was thinking it was the special. So I'm sorry I mixed that up.
Happy
Thank
to
you for
mention
clarifying.
that.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, any other council member, any
Yeah, just
comments?
one last thing, please.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman Constant.
Okay, so a couple of years ago with Southern California Edison, I do remember somewhat vaguely, we had to make a choice, and it's not a special program, but it was just how we wanted to go forward with them. And I'm trying to remember the details, but pretty much the one my household and many are on is, run the dishwasher after 9 p.m., the clothes, the dryer and the washer, that sort of thing. So even that's not like a special program
Right.
for low income or senior citizens, this does affect thousands of customers. And it is a concern if somebody does not want to go with OCPA, wants to remain with Southern California Edison, that there would not be any snafus.
Sure, absolutely. I hear you. And what you're referring to is time of use. So
Right.
it charges you at different times of the day when the
Right.
electricity is more expensive. Those equivalent generations are what you would come onto at OCPA. So if you're on that with SCE, it would mirror that as you came on OCPA. So it would be the same rate class, if you will. But absolutely, if you want to stay with SCE and remain in that
Right.
with them, that's...
And I get that, but what I'm saying is, somebody who doesn't want to go with OCPA, let's say something happens and the customer does end up with your company, maybe trying to get back with SCE could be a little bit challenging if they're not acknowledging and offering a plan that somebody might have been. That's all I'm saying. I hope it doesn't get to that, but that's it. Thank you.
All right, okay, we'll go ahead and conclude this. Thank you so much for answering some of the questions, and I really appreciate the community come out and voice your concern. I know, hope some of the questions that your concerns have been answered tonight. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, the presentation on the item number 2, we'll go ahead and move it to the end of the meeting because we want to get the meeting start. It's 6:20 already. We have people in the room, and I don't want to hold too long with the meeting. Other than that, I'll go ahead and start to open the sessions. And once again, I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, Tuesday, February the 4th. And we'll go ahead and start the call order, please.